All right. Good morning, ladies. Um, sorry, that just reminded me of Sid the Sloth. Hello, ladies. But happy Sunday. So I come to you in my comfies because it's Sunday. We had a cold front come in last night. So it was literally 70 yesterday afternoon, and I think right now it's like 30. Which is kind of fun and why I love Colorado. But today I wanted to talk about the fifth type of hunger and establishing habits for success. So I'm going to start with establishing habits for success because it's really our habits that help us have success in the long run. Like goals are awesome, intentions are fantastic, but it's our habits and like the systems that we put in place that helps us be successful over time. And I realized that the More Sure model, More Sure, similar to the way Alana says it, but More Sure model that Alana has set up is a habit that I had been doing for years and didn't realize that it was a habit because it's a habit, right? We don't think about it. Habits are part of our subconscious. And until we bring awareness to them, they're very hard to change and we don't know where we're doing them. So depending on where you're at in the 2B Mindset videos, one of Alana's principles is more. You want more food? Sure. You drink water first, you go for veggies next, and then you can have proteins and FFCs and whatever you want, but you start with water and veggies first. And we actually, and that is something that I have been doing and didn't necessarily realize I had been doing most of the time. The beauty of habits and the beauty of a lifestyle is it's not like you have to be religious about something. It's just the thing or the choice you make the most is what makes it a habit. And so we live without a microwave and we have for about 6 years. And because of that, to me, cooking fresh vegetables or sauteing vegetables up fresh is always better than warmed up, mostly because we don't have a microwave. Like if you have cooked vegetables and then you have to warm them on the stove, they're like extremely overcooked. And so one of the things that our family has always done is we have a garden salad for dinner most nights, and then we typically have a cooked vegetable as well. And one of the things that we've learned over time is that vegetables warmed up on the stove, cooked vegetables warmed up on the stove are not any good. And so I have learned about the amount of vegetables that my family will eat. But again, one of the rules, and I'm going to talk about this later, but one of the mindsets that I have had around food is if there's 3 or 4 bites left, like it's not worth saving. It's not worth dirtying a dish. It's not worth it. So I typically eat it. That's just, like that's how I roll. I know some people are like, oh, they give it to the dog or they would do whatever, but I have a hard time wasting food. I'm like, I already pay for your dog food. You don't need my food. And so I have a tendency to just eat the last few bites, which even if I'm full, I'll eat it because I don't want to waste it. And you're going to see in this story some of the things I talk about later. But needless to say, so I try and cook just as many vegetables as my family eats so that we don't have a ton of leftovers because leftover veggies aren't good warmed up. All right, I've already gone over all that. And so one of the policies I kind of created for myself was if I wanted seconds, I had to finish the vegetables first because I wasn't going to store them and they're not good leftover. They're better fresh. And so I'm going to finish the vegetables first, and then I can go back for more burger, more chicken, or more sweet potato, or whatever it is. And I have been doing this for years. And so I am one of those people that I really need to finish a meal full and satisfied. If I don't feel full when my meal is up, I find myself grazing like the rest of the night or the rest of the day, and I end up eating way more than if I would have just eaten more at the meal. And so this habit that I had created for myself, mostly because we didn't have a microwave, I believe has helped me establish some really healthy habits in the long run, and it has contributed to like my weight and my size and where I am today. And so it's those little habits that you can create and get in the rhythm of, that I think will help you over the long run. Something like that, you're not going to see weight loss immediately. You're not going to see, because you don't necessarily know, like, I'm eating X amount of vegetables and replacing the silly carbs or whatever. Like, that's an overtime thing. So the more little quirky habits you can establish, like the water before meals, veggies most, veggies first kind of mentality, over time, that's where you're going to start seeing the consistent weight loss, and or just consistently being able to keep the weight off. Like, I know that there's a couple of you in the group. Laura, you've done amazing. You have lost 12 pounds with 2B Mindset, and you kept it off. And life has thrown you so many curveballs in the last few months, and you've kept it off. And that is because of the habits you've created. That is the water first, that is the veggies most. Even if you're only technically doing 2B Mindset 3 or 4 days a week, like, it is those habits that's helping you keep that 12 pounds off. Now to get to the next 12 pounds or the next 2 pounds, we need to make some shifts and some changes and create some more habits. But anyway, I hope that's helpful. And that's just like something I realized that I have been doing in my life that may or may not be helpful for you. It's totally Alana's More Sure model. For me, it's a little bit of a different perspective. But I think it's the same thing. So it's whatever works for your mind. And speaking of mind, the 5th type of hunger that I'm going to talk about today is mind hunger. And this one is so fascinating to me. And it's really like, it is one of the keys for continuing to grow, heal, and establish a good relationship with food. Because it's this type of perspective, these rules, these mindsets that you've established about food in your subconscious that is helping you make your decisions on the daily. And so mind hunger is just basically that. It's the beliefs, the thoughts, and the rules that you have established over your lifetime about food. And a lot of that is cultural. Some of the ones that might be familiar to you are, you have to eat 5 times a day because you have to keep your metabolism up. And so you may or may not be eating, not because you're hungry, but because you thought you had to eat 5 times a day. Or you have to save your calories for a party or for your treats later. So you don't eat a lot during the day, and then you eat when that treat opportunity comes up. Or, like big holidays, you don't eat all Christmas Day and then you feast, or same thing with Thanksgiving. Like, these are the rules, the thoughts, and the beliefs that you have established. Saving your calories for later, need to eat 5 times a day, eggs aren't good, fat's not good for you, carbs aren't good for you. Like, all these rules and beliefs. You can't eat after 5 o'clock. You need to fast for 12 hours before you eat again. There's just so many cultural rules that we all have had thrown at us for years. And depending on your decade and your generation, it's going to be slightly different than someone else's. But the thing is, when we can become aware of why we're eating, when we're eating, how we're eating, and what we're eating, like I said, like, the more awareness we can create, the more choices we can create. So some of those rules that we have established aren't actually serving us. So maybe, let's say one of your rules is you need to eat 5 times a day to keep your metabolism up, but you're actually not hungry between breakfast and lunch. But you've never taken the time to feel for those physical hunger cues. You've just done it. This is a great chance to feel for the physical hunger cues and see if you need that snack between breakfast and lunch. Or you are someone who has saved your calories for parties and treats. I would challenge you to make a plated meal. Let's say you have a party at 6, make a plated meal and eat it at 5 or 5:30. And then you can go into the party 2 hands on the wheel, focused on people, and you don't have to save your calories, because you're going to be just fine. You're not going to go into that party starving. You're not going to overeat. Even if you do treat yourself, all you have to do is track it and see how it goes. Maybe one of the rules you have about food is you can't eat after 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. maybe that's something you need to sit with for a little bit. And maybe you need to eat something at 7 and track it and weigh yourself the next morning and see how it goes. Because if you can get an honest perspective on food and the beliefs and thoughts you have around food, you will have a healthier relationship with food. Because think about it. Let's say you eat a donut, and in your mind and in your world, donuts are bad. So you eat that donut, and though it was good, and though you enjoyed it, you walk away feeling guilty. You walk away feeling like, oh, that's not working really towards my goals. And you start to go on that negative cycle of, oh, that's not good for me, and I shouldn't have done that. And it just keeps cycling and cycling. It's probably going to affect your choices later that day. And you may not have the courage to step on the scale the next day because of that mindset that it established because you felt like that donut was bad. If you have the belief that a donut is a treat and it is delicious and it is to be enjoyed, then when you eat that donut, you're going to taste how good it is, how it melts in your mouth, the flavor you chose, whether it's maple or chocolate or cinnamon, you're going to enjoy it to the fullest. You're going to track it. You're going to write it down and you're going to forget about it. You're going to get on the scale the next morning because you fully enjoyed that donut and you didn't believe it was bad for you. And you're going to see how it affected you. And you may or may not go up. You may or may not stay the same. But that doesn't make the donut good or bad. And so you actually, when we can take the beliefs away from how we feel about food, you're going to fully experience your treats more. And you're going to have a healthier relationship with that food. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I hope that makes sense. Again, just like with all the other types of hunger, the biggest thing we're trying to create here is an awareness. And now that you have a category for different types of hunger and why you eat, hopefully in the long run, that's going to help you create that really positive relationship with food, and you can experience treats with so much more freedom, and you can eat intuitively so that you understand, hey, I'm eating because I'm actually hungry and I want to nourish my body, or I'm eating because I want to celebrate with these people and that is how we're doing it and I'm okay with that. So much about our wellness is about our perspective. It's a state of mind, which is what 2B Mindset is about. So I hope that was helpful for you. A few things. Oh, exercise. That's another one. Huge. People believe that exercise, we can eat more because we exercised. Or so whether you eat more before you exercise because you're like, oh, I'm going to exercise, so I better eat more. Or you exercise and then you eat more because you feel like you worked so hard. Studies have shown that we have, as people, we have no idea, no true idea. Not science does, but as people, we really don't know how many calories we burned or how much food or energy we burned off in our exercise, and we always grossly overestimate. And so we might, let's say you go for a 3-mile run and you're like, I totally burned 700 calories. And typically on average, you burn about 100 calories a mile. And so you really only burn 3. And so we tend to grossly overestimate the amount we burned. And so again, exercise is one of those, what are your beliefs around exercise? Do you have to exercise to lose weight? You don't. Do you have to, does exercising burn more calories? Sure. Do you always have to replace those calories? You don't. You have to learn to feel your body and listen to your hunger cues and what's really triggering your hunger. I know for me, if I really listen to my body after a workout, I'm actually rarely hungry. Working out is one of those things that naturally drops your blood sugar, and not drops it to the point of drops it and then I'm hungry, but it lowers it to normal. It lowers it to homeostasis. And so a lot of times working out can actually suppress your hunger cues a little bit. And so but that's, that's understanding our beliefs around exercise. So many people, myself included, if I crush a workout, I am going, in the past, I was going to crush some food too. So I want you guys to take this week. Well, actually, what I really want you guys to do is comment below some of the beliefs and thoughts you have around food that you know aren't helping you. And I want you to do that because I think what's going to happen is some of you are going to see those and be like, oh, I have that one too, and I didn't realize it. So list as many as you can think of. And guys, there's nothing like, we all have them. There's no like, don't feel like this is totally a judgment-free zone. Don't feel like it's like, oh, I should be over this, or I shouldn't follow this one, or whatever. Like, we all have them, and they're all goofy. Like, the ones that we have hung on to, it's more like something that our subconscious, like, grabbed onto and then hasn't let go yet. And so there's totally no judgment. I would love for you guys to list them off, though, because I feel like maybe yours will trigger and remind someone that, oh, I have that one too. Because this one, like a lot of the choices we make are subconscious around these, and we don't even know we have those beliefs. So if you guys can do that below, let's create a running list of some of the beliefs and thoughts we have around food that we know aren't serving us. And then let's start to make those small choices this week that create habits that you can be consistent with. They're not the big changes. They're not cutting big things out. They're not making huge changes. It's just what's the one or two things that I can do this week that create a habit, that create a pattern of health towards my goals. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I am going to keep bringing you more nuggets of information. But that was the big one. I really wanted to go through the 5 types of hunger because I think those are huge for creating awareness and giving you guys some categories. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday.